Get far away from here, Mom. As far as possible. Ethan, my eldest son, said it like a verdict echoing in my ears. He had just shoved a check for $15,000 into my hand after secretly selling my $4 million farm behind my back. My own son, the person I trusted most in this world, was throwing me out of my own home as if I were an intruder. But what Ethan didn't know was that I had learned of his plan a week earlier and quietly prepared moves that would leave him speechless. 15,000? I smiled the kind of smile he mistook for resignation. After 40 years of building all this, to you that's all I'm worth? Ethan shrugged with a coldness that pierced my heart. Mom, you're old now. You can't manage a farm this big anymore. I sold it for $4 million. I invested the money in a deal that will double the profits. This is your share, so you can live comfortably somewhere else. He held out a stack of papers with a forged signature, pretending to be mine. Ethan had no idea that Mason, his younger brother, had come to me the week before, crying and shaking with anger. Mom, I heard Ethan talking to a lawyer. They're planning to forge your signature to sell the farm. He says there's already a buyer and that you're too senile to notice. My younger son had risked his relationship with his brother to save me from this betrayal, and thanks to him, I had time to prepare. For 40 years I built that farm with my own hands on a piece of land in Wisconsin. I arrived there as a young widow with 2 small children and not a cent in my pocket. I worked 18 hours a day. My hands grew calloused, my back bent under bales of hay and sacks of feed, but I never gave up. Every fence I put up, every tree I planted, every calf I raised, each carried my sweat and blood. That land wasn't just property, it was my soul forged into $4 million of honest labor. Ethan had always been different, from Mason. Since he was little, he only asked how much money we made, how much the farm was worth, when it would be his. While I got up at dawn to milk the cows, he slept in. While I negotiated with distributors, he partied with the money I gave him. I paid for his college, his car, his wedding, and even his failed business ventures, always believing that one day he would appreciate his mother's sacrifices. But in his eyes, I was just an old woman standing between him and his inheritance. "You're 67, Mom," he said, slipping the papers with the forged signature into his briefcase. "It's time to stop being stubborn and accept that you can't live alone in a place this big anymore. With 15,000, you can rent an apartment in the city and live in peace for the rest of your life." His tone was condescending, like he was talking to a spoiled child. "Besides, the buyer has already paid, and I've already invested the money. There's no turning back." I rose slowly from my chair, feeling every fiber of my being fill with a strength I hadn't felt in years. Ethan thought he had defeated me, that he had stripped away everything I had fought for. But that whole week, while he celebrated his brilliant plan, I had been working non-stop with attorney Sophia Carter to prepare the biggest shock of his life. The same will that helped me build a $4 million enterprise would now help me prove that no one, not even my own son, had the right to humiliate me. "Fine, Ethan," I said calmly, so calmly it put him at ease. "I accept your offer, but before I go, I want us to have one last dinner together, a farewell." He smiled, thinking he had finally broken my will. "Of course, Mom. I'll book a table at the most elegant restaurant in the city. You deserve it." He didn't know that dinner would be the stage where his world would completely collapse. On my desk lay a photograph of the farm, 4 decades of honest labor. Soon my son would learn that stealing from a woman who built an empire with her own hands isn't so easy. That night I couldn't sleep. His words, "Get far away," as far as possible, kept echoing. I walked through the house, touching every item I had bought with my own hard work. The farm wasn't just my home, it was living proof of everything I had overcome. And now my own son wanted to erase me from history as if I had never existed. At daybreak, I called Sophia, the lawyer I trusted. "Catherine, come to my office right away," her urgent voice said. "I have news about what you told me yesterday." I drove into Madison, my heart racing. My future depended on what Sophia had found. On the way, I remembered the first time I met her 3 years ago, when Ethan started pressuring me to put the farm in his name. Sophia didn't treat me like a clueless old woman. She saw me as a businesswoman worthy of respect. When I told her about my bad feeling regarding Ethan, she didn't dismiss it. "Catherine, financial abuse of the elderly is on the rise, and heartbreakingly, it's often by family," she said plainly. "We have to protect your assets before it's too late." "Sit down, Catherine," Sophia said when I arrived. Her serious face told me the news wasn't good. "I reviewed the documents Ethan showed you. The signature is fake, of course, but he already filed those papers with the county recorder. According to the system, the farm is no longer in your name." I felt the world drop out from under me. But Sophia smiled encouragingly. "Here's the good news. Last week, when you came alarmed after what Mason told you, we activated safeguards." She opened a thick folder. "Do you remember the papers you signed on Monday? You didn't just move the farm into an irrevocable trust. You also set special clauses. You're the lifetime beneficiary, the only person with decision-making authority over the property. Any fraudulent attempt to sell is automatically void." Tears of relief ran down my cheeks as Sophia continued. "There's more. We installed hidden security cameras in your home last week and recorded the entire conversation yesterday when Ethan handed you the bogus check. We have full evidence of his criminal intent." She played the footage for me. Seeing my own son speak so coldly about robbing me broke my heart, but it also lit an iron resolve inside me. "And what about the money Ethan says he invested?" I asked. Sophia's lips curved slightly. "That's Ethan's problem, not yours. He sold something that didn't belong to him to a buyer who will soon find out he can't take possession. When the buyer demands the return of $4 million, Ethan will have to explain where that money is." The poetic justice made me smile for the first time in days. I returned to the farm feeling like a warrior ready for battle. That afternoon, Ethan called to confirm the dinner. "Mom, I booked a table at the Willow Room for tomorrow at 8 o'clock. It'll be a very special dinner," he cooed, a sweetness that now made me nauseous. "Perfect, son," I replied, suppressing a smile he couldn't see over the phone. "I have a surprise for you, too." That night, I called Mason and told him everything. "Mom, I can't believe Ethan would do this," he choked. "I knew he coveted the farm, but I never thought he'd go this far." I explained my plan with Sophia. "Come to the restaurant tomorrow, but don't say anything to Ethan. I need you to be a witness to everything that's about to happen." Mason agreed immediately, his voice a mix of nerves and admiration. The next morning, I got up early to get ready. I chose my elegant red dress, the gift I bought myself when I turned 60, to celebrate 4 decades of steady work. I did my makeup carefully, set my hair as if for a party, and put on the pearl earrings my late husband gave me on our 20th anniversary. If Ethan wanted a farewell dinner, I would give him an evening he would never forget. As I dressed, I remembered all the times Ethan tried to coax me into selling the farm. "Mom, you're not the age for hard work anymore," he kept saying. "You could live comfortably in the city on the money from selling the land." What he never understood was that the farm wasn't work to me. It was my identity, my purpose, my connection to life. Every sunrise among my trees, every afternoon feeding my animals, every night listening to the wind sweep across the fields reminded me that I had built something beautiful and lasting. And tonight I would protect it with the law, with the truth, and with the heart of a mother. Sophia came to my house with a suitcase full of documents. "Are you ready, Catherine?" she asked as we reviewed the plan. "More than ready," I replied, steadiness returning after weeks of turmoil. "Ethan thinks this is a farewell dinner, but it will actually be a wake-up dinner." Sophia laughed out loud. "I love working with you, Catherine. Not many women your age would dare confront their own son like this." When I arrived at the Willow Room, Ethan was already seated at a window table, dressed in his sharpest suit as if celebrating a victory. "Mom, you look stunning," he said, pulling out my chair. "I want this dinner to be special because I know it'll be hard for you to adjust to your new life." The hypocrisy in his voice twisted my stomach, but I kept a serene smile. "Thank you for being so considerate, Ethan," I said, laying the napkin across my lap. "I also have something very special for tonight." He smiled, believing I had accepted defeat. He ordered the most expensive wine, raising his glass as if he had just won a trophy. "Mom, let's toast to a new beginning," he said as the server poured the golden liquid into our glasses. I lifted my glass calmly. "To new beginnings." Ethan clinked glasses, unaware he was celebrating his own downfall. I studied his face, wondering when exactly the sweet boy he once was had been replaced by the cold, calculating man sitting across from me. "There's something I need to say." Ethan lowered his voice, putting on his business tone. "The buyer wants to take possession of the farm next week. Please pack your personal things and be out before Friday." The chill in his words confirmed that, in his eyes, I was no longer his mother, just an obstacle to be removed. I feigned surprise. "That fast? I thought I'd have more time to say goodbye to that place." Ethan sighed impatiently. "Don't make this harder than it already is. I've found you a fully furnished apartment with 24-hour security close to the hospital in case you need care." The way he mapped out my future, as if talking to someone disabled, made my blood boil, though I hid it. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Mason, slipping in and taking a discreet seat at the back table, just as we'd agreed, arriving half an hour late to serve as a witness. His face was anxious but resolute. Looking at Mason, I remembered I was protecting both my property and my good son from his brother's manipulation. "Ethan, there's something I don't understand," I said slowly. "The farm was $4 million, and you sold it at that price, so where's the rest of the money? You only gave me $15,000. Ethan took another sip of wine, like he needed liquid courage for what he was about to say. "I already invested it. I bought shares in a tech company that's about to shake the Americas. In 5 years, 4 million will become 20 million. His fervor was pitiful. He had sold my entire life for a fanciful dream. "And if that deal fails?" I asked, playing naive. "What happens to the farm's money?" Ethan gave a condescending laugh. "You don't understand investing." I studied. "Business administration? I have contacts in finance. I know what I'm doing. Trust me." The irony of him demanding trust right after robbing me blind was almost laughable. The main course arrived, but I could barely swallow. Every bite tasted like betrayal. Ethan, on the other hand, ate heartily, as if celebrating a victory. "Mom, think about what you'll gain," he said, slicing his meat. "No more getting up at dawn to milk cows, no more worrying about crops, No more headaches with employees. You'll finally get the rest you deserve. What he didn't understand? I didn't want rest. Those sunrises, those worries, those daily challenges were the meaning of my life. And if I don't want rest? If I want to work my own land until my last day? I asked softly. Ethan looked at me with a mix of frustration and pity. You're 67. You could get hurt, get sick, even die alone in that remote place. Besides, the deal is done. The papers are signed. The money's invested. There's no going back. I repeated. Papers signed? What papers, Ethan? He pulled from his briefcase the exact file from yesterday. These, your signature, authorizing the sale of the farm. On the page was a forged signature. When did I sign that? I asked, my voice shaking. He looked me straight in the eyes, ice cold. A month ago, when you came to visit me, you signed. Don't you remember? The brazenness stunned me for a moment. He was painting me as senile to legitimize the theft. I never signed. I never said I wanted to sell. That is not my signature. His face hardened. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Your memory has problems. You need to move into the city to get medical care. The shameless manipulation made me nauseous. Right then, a gentle hand rested on my shoulder. Sophia Carter, my attorney, arrived exactly on time. Good evening, Catherine. She smiled warmly. I hope it's not a problem if I join this dinner. Ethan looked confused. Mom, who is this? His voice was no longer condescending, but genuinely worried control was starting to slip from his hands. Ethan, I gave my first genuine smile of the night. This is Sophia, my attorney. She has something very interesting to say about that stack of papers you just handed me. Ethan's face went pale as Sophia sat down beside us. The farewell dinner was about to turn into a confrontation he hadn't seen coming. His smugness dissolved into obvious tension, like a child caught red-handed. Allow me to introduce myself properly, Sophia said, her professional smile not reaching her eyes. I'm Catherine's legal representative, and before you say more about signed papers, I suggest we watch a recording capturing the entire conversation last night at her house. She set a small device on the table. I saw Mason at the back table lift his head slightly, eyes taut but steady. Ethan swallowed hard. In the quiet before the storm, I rested my hand on my water glass, my heartbeat leveled. I was ready. Ethan, I said very softly, it's time you heard the truth. I'm Sophia Carter, an attorney specializing in assets and protection of older adults. Last week, your mother retained me after Mason, your younger brother, warned her about certain plans you had regarding her property. Her emphasis on plans made Ethan even paler. I don't understand what you're talking about, he stammered, his voice stripped of the confidence it had had just minutes earlier. Mom simply authorized me to sell the farm because she can't manage it anymore. Everything is perfectly legal. Sophia opened her case and set a thick folder on the table. Legal, huh? Then how do you explain that the signature in these documents doesn't match any of your mother's authentic signatures from the past 40 years? Ethan took the papers, his hands trembling. There must be some mistake. Mom signed voluntarily. I was there. Sophia slid over another sheet. You mean this time, right? She showed a photo I hadn't seen before. Ethan sitting alone in his office, signing the papers himself. Where did you get that photo? Ethan asked, his voice down to a thread. Sweat had sprung onto his forehead. Ethan, did you really think you could forge documents without leaving a trace? Sophia said calmly. We have security cameras in the building where your office is. We also have recordings of calls where you discuss the plan with an accomplice. What accomplice? I was genuinely surprised. This was new to me. Sophia glanced at me, then continued. Gavin Montgomery, the buyer of the farm, is actually Ethan's partner in this scheme. The script was, Gavin buys at an inflated price, then Ethan refunds the difference in cash and keeps the $4 million to invest however he wants. That's not true, Ethan muttered, gripping his wine glass like a lifeline in a storm. Gavin is a legitimate buyer. He wants to build a resort. Sophia smiled coolly. Gavin Montgomery does not exist. It's a fake identity you created with fraudulent documents. The bank account where Gavin supposedly wired the $4 million is in your name. The restaurant seemed to disappear around us. Only the three of us existed at the table, and the tension was sharp enough to cut. Mom, Ethan turned to me, pleading, you know me. I would never hurt you. This must be a misunderstanding. For a split second, I saw the little boy who used to run to me after nightmares, and my mother's heart softened. Then I remembered the check for $15,000 and his order to get far away. Ethan, is what Sophia said true? I asked, my voice strangely calm even to myself. Did you really forge my signature to steal my farm? He looked straight into my eyes. For 1 second, I thought he would tell the truth. But his face cooled, and the calculating man returned. You don't understand. Yes, I was flexible with the paperwork, but it was for your own good. You no longer have the capacity to make major financial decisions. Someone had to protect the estate before you did something foolish because of old age. His cruel words slapped me raw. Sophia cut in. Ethan, are you aware you just confessed to document forgery, financial abuse of an older adult, and falsification of official records? Everything is being recorded. She tapped the small recorder on the table. Ethan realized he had fallen into a perfectly prepared trap. Sophia continued, relentless. And for your information, the farm could never have been sold legally because last week your mother transferred it into an irrevocable trust. She's the lifetime beneficiary. Any subsequent sale is automatically void. Ethan turned to me, stunned. What does that mean? It means, son, I had found my voice again, you cannot sell my farm, and now you're in very big trouble. The buyer, Gavin Montgomery, who, according to Sophia, is you, has received a property he can't legally own. Where are the $4 million that were paid? The truth hit Ethan like a riptide. I invested it. The money is in tech stocks. I can recover it. Sophia shook her head. We looked up your so-called Techno-Latino solutions. It doesn't exist. It's just a shell you set up to hide the money. So where are the $4 million really? Ethan collapsed into his chair like a deflated balloon. Just then, Mason walked up to our table. Sorry to interrupt, he said, his voice tight as a wire, but Ethan should know the bank has frozen all his accounts for suspicious activity. Ethan looked up, shattered. Mason, you're involved in this too? Involved in protecting Mom from your betrayal, Mason answered, steadier than I'd ever seen him. I'm the one who told Mom about your plan, the one who urged her to call Sophia, and the one who alerted the banking authorities when I saw the dubious transfers. Ethan stared at his brother as if seeing who Mason truly was for the first time. Why did you betray me? You betrayed the family when you decided to steal the 40 years of Mom's work, Mason said, tears slipping silently. A server crept over to ask if everything was okay. I gave a cool smile. Everything's fine. My family is having a necessary conversation about honesty and respect. He backed away quickly, relieved not to be dragged into it. Ethan lifted his eyes, red and wet. Mom, I'm sorry. I was wrong. It was all for the family's future. I glanced at Sophia. After all that, he was still trying to pivot with excuses and tears. 40 years had taught me to tell the difference between genuine remorse and a desperate performance. "Ethan," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "if you truly cared about the family, you would have talked to me before making decisions about my life and my property." He sobbed harder, clutching my hand. "Mom, please. We can fix this. I'll return the money, cancel the investments, put everything back the way it was." His desperation was plain, but it also showed he still didn't grasp the seriousness. "Let's talk about the money," Sophia said, gentle but sharp. "Where is it?" Ethan wiped his eyes, trying to regain his business composure. "It's in an offshore investment account. The process is complicated, but I can withdraw it in a few days." Sophia pulled out another folder. "You mean the Cayman account opened last week under the name HM Holdings LLC? That account is also under investigation for money laundering." Ethan's face completely collapsed. How do you know everything?" he muttered, almost to himself. Sophia remained calm. "Ethan, when you decided to steal $4 million from your own mother, you triggered multiple banking alert systems. And the bad news for you is, all the evidence is ready." I tightened my grip on my water glass, feeling my center return. Tonight was not only about reclaiming the farm, but about reclaiming the truth and the dignity of a 67-year-old mother in Wisconsin named Catherine. International transfers of that magnitude, without legitimate commercial justification, are always investigated by financial authorities, Sophia said firmly. Mason took Ethan's hand, his voice genuinely sad. "Brother, when did we get to this point? When did you decide money mattered more than Mom?" Ethan looked up at Mason, resentment and despair mixed in his eyes. "You don't understand, Mason. You've always been the favored son, never had to worry about money. I'm the oldest. I should have inherited the farm automatically." "The favored son?" I repeated, incredulous. "Ethan, I treated both of you the same opportunities, the same education, the same love." Ethan let out a dry laugh that made me shiver. "The same, Mom?" Mason got whatever he wanted, studied art, married who he loved, didn't have to prove anything. I had to study business because you said someone had to understand finance to help with the farm. That confession struck like lightning. So all these years, Ethan had carried a heavy resentment I had never known about. "Ethan, I never forced you to study business. You told me you liked business." He shook his head violently. "I wanted to study music, Mom. I wanted to be a composer. But you needed someone who understood numbers and contracts, so I sacrificed my dream for the family." Mason stared at me, stunned. Clearly he had never known this. Sophia watched with the calm of someone used to deep, simmering wounds being exposed in family confrontations. I drew a long breath. "Ethan, if you felt pressured to study, something you didn't want, why didn't you tell me?" "What for?" he said bitterly. "The farm has always been your number one priority. The crops, the animals, the harvests. We were secondary." Mason got it and left to live his own life. I stayed, waiting for the day you would finally acknowledge my sacrifice. Those words hurt more than I wanted to admit, because there was some truth in them. "It's true the farm is very important to me," I said honestly. "It's how I ensured a future for both of you. But that doesn't justify you stealing the 40 years of my work." Ethan covered his face. "I didn't want to steal, Mom. I wanted you to see me as a partner, a rightful heir. I wanted to prove I could multiply the farm's value through smart investments." Sophia softened her tone. Ethan, those ambitions have legal paths. You could have proposed a business plan, asked your mother to bring you in as a partner, or suggested reinvesting a portion of profits into other projects. Ethan looked up, desperation tinged with frustration. I tried for years. I brought ideas to expand, modernize, diversify, but Mom kept saying the farm was fine and didn't need changes. I admitted it. In my decisions, I've been cautious, maybe too risk-averse. But I still spoke firmly. Even so, you had no right to decide about my property on your own. If you wanted changes, you had to persuade me, not deceive me. Ethan nodded very slowly, as if finally grasping the weight of what he'd done. I know. I regret it. But when I saw the Techno-Latino opportunity, I thought I could prove my value without needing your permission, Mason said gently. Ethan, Techno-Latino doesn't exist. Sophia already explained that. So what did you actually invest in? Ethan fell silent for a long moment, torn between telling the truth and continuing to lie. Finally, he sighed. Crypto. I put it into crypto. I thought I could triple it in a few months, then return the farm to Mom with a big profit. Crypto? I repeated, stunned. Ethan, you gambled $4 million of my money on crypto without telling me? Sophia leaned in, professional. Which ones, specifically? Through what platform? Ethan looked like a man confessing financial suicide. Some new coins that promised huge yields. Luna Coin, Galaxy Token, a few others I can't remember. The investment advisor said they were once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. Sophia and Mason exchanged a horrified look. Mason's voice trembled. Ethan, those are classic crypto scam patterns. How much is left? Ethan slumped into his chair. According to the latest report, about $300,000 remain. The rest evaporated when several coins crashed last week. Silence congealed around us. 4 million, down to 300,000 in a matter of days. 300,000, I said slowly. Ethan, you lost about $3,700,000 in 1 week. He nodded, eyes lowered like a child who had shattered the most precious vase in the house. I thought it was just a short-term correction. The advisor said all investments have initial volatility. Sophia closed her eyes briefly, perhaps weighing the legal implications. Ethan, where are the records of these investments contracts, receipts, communications with this advisor? Ethan rummaged in his briefcase and pulled out a few crumpled pages. Sophia skimmed them, her face darkening. These aren't legitimate investment documents. These are forms from a crypto pyramid scheme. A spark of hope flickered in Ethan. So that means I can get the money back? Sophia shook her head sadly. It means the scammers have disappeared with the funds, and recovery is almost impossible. The truth settled heavily. Ethan hadn't just betrayed my trust and stolen my property. He had burned through a fortune representing 4 decades of labor. Justice, in its irony, was brutal. The son who wanted to prove financial prowess had fallen for the most basic trap of the digital world. Ethan's face was utterly devastated. He hadn't only lost the family's respect, he had destroyed what he craved to possess. "Mom," he whispered, "what do I do now? I can't repay the money. My house is mortgaged, my credit cards are maxed out, and my accounts are frozen." For the first time that night, I saw true vulnerability instead of a performance. But I kept my voice firm. "Ethan, that's no longer my responsibility. You made every decision yourself, claiming authority over my life and my assets. Now you have to face the consequences." Sophia nodded in agreement, organizing her papers. Catherine is right. Ethan, you're 42. Your decisions are yours, and so are the consequences. Mason took his brother's hand, compassion clear. I'll help where I can. But first, you need to face the truth. What you did was terribly wrong. Ethan gripped Mason's hand like a lifeline. Mom, are you going to turn me in to the police? Terror filled his eyes. My heart tightened. He was still my son. Sophia answered crisply before I could. Technically, reporting has already occurred. The bank automatically filed suspicious activity reports with the authorities. Document forgery, signature falsification, and financial abuse of an older adult are serious crimes and are often prosecuted automatically. Ethan went pale. So, I'm going to jail? It depends, Sophia explained, on your level of cooperation, your willingness to return what remains, and Catherine's decision about pursuing additional civil claims. All eyes turned to me. I placed my hand on the table, feeling my spine straighter than ever. Tonight was not only to expose a scam, but to assert that the assets, labor, and dignity of a 67-year-old mother named Catherine are not something anyone can just take. The hardest decision of my life lay in my hands. Either I sent my own son to prison, or I found another path to seek justice. Ethan, listen carefully, I said after a few heavy minutes of silence. What you didn't just steal my money, it destroyed the trust I've given you for 42 years. You treated me like a senile old woman, unworthy of respect. Ethan began to cry again, this time seemingly real. Mom, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted to impress you. Impress me by stealing from me? I couldn't believe it. Impress me by treating me like an obstacle to be cleared? He shook his head frantically. No, Mom. I wanted to multiply the money, give the farm back with improvements, prove I'm the successful son you always wanted. His words revealed a warped sense of reality that truly worried me. You two never had to become anyone else to make me happy, I said sadly. I only ever wanted honesty, hard work, and respect for others. Money was never the top priority. Mason nodded. Mom always taught us to be good people, not rich people. Sophia cleared her throat softly. Catherine, we need to discuss the legal steps. No matter what you choose, the criminal process will proceed, but you can influence the civil penalties. I took a deep breath. My son had committed serious crimes, burned through a fortune, and now his future partly depended on my decision. Sophia, what are my options? You can file a full civil lawsuit to recover all damages plus punitive penalties, Sophia said clearly. Or negotiate a settlement. Ethan immediately returns the remaining $300,000, sells assets to continue restitution, with a payment plan. In exchange, you temporarily hold back part of the civil claims, I asked. If I go for the maximum lawsuit, Ethan would lose everything, house, car, any remaining assets, plus punitive damages that could leave him in debt for life. The severity left me silent. Part of me wanted him to pay in full, another part remembered the child he once was. Mom, please, Ethan begged, tears streaming. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'll do anything to make it right, work day and night, sell everything I have, pay back every dollar. I looked him in the eye. After what's happened, why should I trust your promises? How do I know this isn't just a way to dodge consequences? Ethan wiped his tears, face turning serious. Because I understand I've lost the most important thing, your respect and your trust. Money can be earned again. Trust may never be. Mason spoke gently. Mom, let me propose something. We give Ethan a chance to prove himself, but with very strict conditions. Sophia raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What conditions, Mason? Ethan transfers the remaining $300,000 immediately, sells his house and car to create a restitution fund, and works at the farm without pay until he's covered a significant portion. Everything under legal supervision, with monthly reports to Sophia. Ethan nodded right away, like grabbing a life preserver. Sophia added, "We need clear penalties if Ethan violates anything, and a ban on accessing any of Catherine's assets without legal supervision." Ethan seemed ready to accept anything to avoid total ruin. "What about the family relationship?" I asked the thing that weighed on me most. "How do we rebuild trust, Ethan?" He was quiet for quite a while, then said, "Let me work at the farm not as an heir or a partner, but as an employee. I'll spend years proving I respect your work and your authority." In desperation, words come easily, I knew that, but there was a note of genuine humility in his voice. "Ethan, farm work is grueling," I warned. "It means getting up at 5 a.m. The sun beats down, your hands get dirty, and the tasks are beneath your prize. College degree, can you handle that?" "I'll pay any price." He nodded firmly. "I want to earn back your respect, even if it takes my whole life." Sophia took notes. "If we proceed with a supervised agreement, we'll frame the terms, restitution amount, payment schedule, work conditions, penalties for violations, probation period." Ethan agreed immediately to everything Sophia listed. "One last condition," I said, feeling it was time to set the most important boundary. "If you accept this agreement, you will never question my decisions about the farm, nor pressure me to make changes I don't want. The property is mine. My decisions are final." Ethan nodded solemnly. "I understand completely. I won't cross that line again." The restaurant was nearly empty. The server stopped by, and I smiled. "Give us a few more minutes. The biggest decisions in life can't be rushed because of closing time," I concluded. "Ethan, I'm giving you a chance to make amends, but on my terms, with full legal supervision. You have exactly 1 year to prove you're the son I raised, not the fraud you've become." Ethan looked at me half relieved, half terrified, understanding this was likely his last chance. "Sophia, draft a contract with everything we've agreed to. Ethan will transfer the remaining $300,000 immediately, sell all personal assets for restitution, and work at the farm without pay for 12 months. I want monthly reports. If he violates even one term, we move to full civil litigation immediately." Ethan wiped his tears, meeting my eyes. "Mom, I accept everything." "I'll work harder than I ever have in my life," I said sternly. "This isn't reconciliation. This is a supervised work opportunity. Trust will be rebuilt day by day, and it may take years to mend what you broke in one night." Mason squeezed his brother's hand, eyes wet. "I'm proud of Mom for giving you this chance. Respect it." "Ethan." Ethan nodded to his brother. "Thank you for protecting Mom when I betrayed her. You're a better man than I am, and I hope to learn from you." That genuine humility in Ethan's voice gave me the first real hope that maybe, just maybe, this family wound could still heal. Sophia organized the papers. Then the specific conditions. Tomorrow, Ethan transfers $300,000 into a restitution account I'll manage. After that, 30 days to sell the house, the car, and any valuable assets. Ethan nodded, then asked quietly, "Where will I live?" "At the farm with me," I answered. He froze for a second. "But not in the main house. You'll stay in the worker's cabin. You'll follow the same conditions as any employee." Ethan swallowed hard. "Housing and work rules," Sophia continued, "will specify work hours, duties, discipline, a ban on accessing the main house and Catherine's records or accounts without written approval. Each month you'll submit a financial reconciliation and restitution progress. Any deceit and the agreement ends, shifting immediately to maximum litigation. I nodded. Ethan did too, this time without arguing. In that moment, I felt my spine straighten. Tonight, I didn't just keep the farm, I kept my right to steer my own life. And if my son truly wanted to become a decent man again, then the door, though narrow, was open for exactly 1 year. After that, whatever happens is entirely up to him. No special privileges just because you're my son. I shook my head firmly. In fact, because you betrayed my trust, you'll be under stricter supervision. Sophia finalized the legal terms. Ethan, during the 1-year probation, you may not make any significant financial decision without supervision. No investments, no loans, no new accounts. Ethan nodded without protest. I understand. I need to prove I can handle basic responsibilities before I'm trusted with big decisions. I looked straight at him. One more thing. This year you'll learn every job on the farm. Milking cows, planting and tending coffee trees, fixing fences, cleaning stalls. You'll feel in your body what it means to build with your hands. Ethan nodded hard. I'm ready. I want to truly understand what you've done all these years. Mason smiled for the first time. You're going to see things differently. When you work the soil yourself, you'll understand money isn't just numbers. Every dollar is sweat, effort, sacrifice. Maybe then you'll value what Mom has built. I continued, slow and clear. The relationship between you and me will also fundamentally change. From now on, you're no longer a son who can ask for favors. You're an employee, and every opportunity must be earned. Ethan nodded solemnly. I understand. I lost the right to be treated as your son when I betrayed you. I hope to earn that place back over time. Sophia closed her case, satisfied. Catherine, this agreement is fair but strict. It gives Ethan a chance to make amends while fully protecting your interests. I turned to Ethan, more serious than ever. If you fail, there will be no third chance. I'll pursue maximum litigation and end the relationship. Ethan answered, his voice cracking but determined. I understand completely. This is my last chance to be your son again. I won't waste it. Good. We start tomorrow. Be at the farm at 5 a.m., ready to work. The server stopped by to say the restaurant was closing soon. Sophia packed up the documents. That's enough for tonight. Tomorrow morning, meet at my office to sign the official paperwork. Ethan nodded, still tense from absorbing it all. As we stood, Mason hugged him, eyes misty. I'm proud of you for accepting this chance. It'll be hard, but it's what you need. Ethan hugged him back, holding tight. Thank you for not giving up on me, even after what is knows. I did. Help me stay on the right path for the whole year ahead. I paused and finished the most important part. Ethan, over the next 12 months, you're not just working to repay the money, you're rebuilding respect, mending the trust you betrayed, and stitching back together a family bond that nearly broke. Ethan looked at me with a rare humility. Mom, I don't deserve it, but I'll do everything I can to be worthy. Sophia walked us to the door. Catherine, you handled this wisely, offering a chance, but with full legal safeguards. I thanked her. Without your expertise, I couldn't have gotten here. See you tomorrow to sign. Stepping into the night air, I felt I'd just walked out of a great battle. Ethan's betrayal was brutal, but at least now there was a path forward on my terms. I turned and reminded him, Ethan, remember, 5 a.m. Tomorrow you work like every other employee. Don't be late." He nodded, voice low. "I won't let you down, Mom. Not this time." Mason offered to drive me home, but I chose to drive myself to reflect. On the way back to the farm, I thought about the harshest night of my life. My son had betrayed me cruelly, but I proved that a 67-year-old woman can still stand tall, set boundaries, and protect herself. The future is uncertain, but from now on it's in my hands. As the car turned into the farm, moonlight spilled across the rows of earth. A deep satisfaction settled in me. This land is still mine. 40 years of labor are protected, and maybe, just maybe, I can find my lost son again, but only under my rules, on my conditions. 3 months later, I woke as usual at 4:30 a.m., no alarm needed. I heard footsteps in the yard. Ethan was already up, getting ready for a new day that would begin right at 5 a.m. Those first days were brutal for him. Hands used to files and laptops blistered after the first week of labor. A back used to a briefcase ached from hauling. Coffee sacks and tools. But to my surprise, he didn't complain once. Every morning he showed up on time, ready to learn and work. "Good morning, Mom," Ethan said as I stepped out of the main house. After 3 months, his appearance had changed. Sun-browned skin, calloused hands, muscles from hard work, but more important was his attitude. The arrogance was gone. In its place were respect and a humility learned day by day. "Good morning, Ethan," I answered, with the professional calm I'd maintained, not coldness, just the necessary distance between an employer and an employee. "Today we'll inspect the north section of the coffee grove, pruning and fertilizing." Ethan nodded and went to get the tools. He'd picked up the routine quickly. On the path into the grove, I noticed how he touched the plants. From seeing them as mere tasks to do, he'd begun to understand that each plant is a living thing needing specific care. "This plant looks sick," he pointed to a bush with yellowing leaves. "Good. What do you think is causing it?" I asked, testing what he'd learned. Ethan leaned in, observing. "Could be too much water, nutrient deficiency, or pests." "And the fix?" "Check soil drainage to prevent waterlogging. Look at the leaves for pest or disease signs, then adjust fertilization accordingly." I nodded slightly. He was starting to think like a farmer, not just follow orders. For 3 months, Sophia closely monitored progress. Ethan transferred $300,000 right away, sold his house and car, and turned in every dollar recovered. The total reclaimed so far was $505,000, only a fraction, but a meaningful start. "Mom, can I ask something personal?" Ethan spoke up while we were pruning. In 3 months, it was the first time he dared a conversation that wasn't strictly about work. "Go ahead," I said, keeping my focus on the shears. "Do you think there'll be a day when I can forgive me?" The question hit me harder than I expected. I stopped and looked him in the eye. "Ethan, forgiveness isn't a reward for good behavior. It's built day by day, decision by decision, action by action. If you want it, keep doing what's right and time will answer." Ethan nodded solemnly, clearly understanding there are no easy answers. He was proving himself in daily tasks, but I reminded him that deep trust takes years to rebuild. "I understand," Ethan answered sincerely. "Every day working here, I better see what I destroyed when I betrayed you. This land isn't just money or property. It's your life, your identity, your legacy." His words touched me, because that understanding had been missing for years. "I'm glad you finally see that," I said softly. That afternoon, Mason came by as he did every weekend. The air between the brothers had changed. Mason no longer had to shield me from Ethan. Now he could relate to him as someone genuinely trying to change. "How do you feel after 3 months of physical work?" Mason asked over dinner. "Tired but satisfied," Ethan answered honestly. "It's strange, but seeing the results with my own eyes and hands at the end of the day, it's fulfilling in a way I've never felt." Mason smiled. "That's exactly what Mom tried to teach us when we were kids." Ethan nodded, a little wistful. "I wish I'd understood sooner." During the meal, Ethan talked about the farm workers. At first, they were wary of me. They knew I was the owner's son and probably guessed something had happened. But gradually, when they saw I was willing to do the same work they do, they started to accept me. I was glad he was earning respect through action, not titles. After dinner, I told Ethan, "There's something to discuss." "Sophia says the legal process has moved forward. The authorities have tracked down some of the crypto scammers." Ethan sat up straight. "So we can recover more?" I nodded, but cautiously. "Possibly, but you'll have to testify against them." Ethan didn't hesitate. "I'll do whatever it takes to recover the money I burned through out of stupidity." His immediate willingness to cooperate showed true commitment. "Good. Sophia will arrange meetings with the prosecutors," I said. Ethan nodded, determined. That night, after Mason left and Ethan returned to the cabin, I sat on the porch and reflected on the past 3 months. Ethan's changes were clear, but I knew 3 months was only the beginning. Real change in character takes years to set. Still, for the first time since that dark restaurant night, I felt something like hope. Ethan was showing he could be disciplined, humble, and diligent. More importantly, he respected my authority and followed directions. No arguing, no maneuvering. That's the foundation on which, maybe one day, a family can be rebuilt. The next day was Sunday, traditionally a rest day on the farm, but Ethan had gotten used to using Sundays to study agricultural techniques, books on coffee, livestock handbooks, articles on modern irrigation. Seeing my son study my work seriously gave me a satisfaction I hadn't felt in a long time. "I want to ask you something," I said when I found Ethan reading under the mango tree. He looked up, attentive. "After the 1-year probation, what do you intend to do?" "If you allow it," Ethan said slowly. "I'd like to keep working on the farm not as a privileged son, but as an employee who has earned his place." I was surprised. "You don't miss the office, the suit, the meetings?" Ethan shook his head firmly. That life was built on empty ambition and reckless decisions. This life, though simpler, feels more real and honest. In his words, I saw a maturity I'd never seen before. "Ethan, there are still 9 months left in your probation," I reminded him. "A lot can change in that time." I know," he said with a small smile, "but with each passing day, I'm more convinced this is the right path for me." That afternoon, watching Ethan fix a fence in the late sun, my heart was a mix of pride at his transformation, a sting from wounds that heal slowly, and hope for a future we might build together. Justice had been served, but more importantly, the chance for redemption was appearing day by day in my son's honest labor. Exactly 1 year after that fateful dinner, I woke with a different feeling in my chest. Today marked the end of Ethan's probation. For the first time in 12 months, I was truly optimistic about our family. The familiar footsteps in the yard told me he was already up, ready for another days that had reshaped his character. Over 12 months, Ethan honored every single term without a single slip. He worked from first light to dusk, learned each step of the operation, and showed a dedication I never thought he had. More importantly, by selling assets and cooperating with authorities to track down the scammers, He recovered $800,000. "Good morning, Mom," Ethan called as I stepped outside. His appearance had changed. Sun-browned skin, calloused hands, muscles built by labor, but more valuable was what had changed inside. Arrogance gone, replaced by humility and deep respect for the work and for me. "Good morning, Ethan," I replied. This time, my voice held a warmth that had been absent for months. "Today is special." Ethan smiled, a little tense. "Yes, the end of the probation year." I saw the worry in his eyes, waiting for my decision. "I want you to know, you have exceeded my expectations," I said honestly. In the morning, we worked together as we had hundreds of times this past year, but today, I watched every gesture of Ethan's with new eyes, the way he was gentle with the animals, meticulous when pruning, patient in explaining techniques to new workers. This was the man I'd hoped he would become for 42 years. Right at noon, Sophia arrived at the farm for our final appointment. All year she had monitored the monthly reports, and nearly every one was positive. "Catherine," Sophia said, reviewing the file. "In all my years handling family cases, I've rarely seen a transformation as complete as Ethan's. He complied with every term, repaid $800,000, worked without pay for 12 months, and showed genuine change in character and values." Ethan sat beside us, clearly anxious for a verdict about his future at the farm and in the family. I looked him straight in the eye. "Ethan, a year ago, you betrayed me in the cruelest way. You stole my trust, forged my signature, and tried to strip away 4 decades of my labor." Ethan lowered his head, ashamed of the past. "But over this past year, you've proven you can change. You worked harder than any employee I've had in 40 years, learned to respect this land, understood what it means to build with your hands, and showed humility, dedication, and a commitment to do what's right." Ethan's voice trembled as he listened. I drew a deep breath, then decided, "Therefore I'm offering you a permanent position at the farm, not as an automatic heir, but as a junior partner, fair salary, and the chance to participate in operational decisions." I paused, stating the boundary clearly. "And as agreed, all ownership and final decisions remain with me. Trust will continue to be tested day by day, task by task. You've got the door reopened, but how far you go through it is entirely up to you." Ethan stared at me, tears streaming. "Really, Mom? You trust me that much?" "Full trust will take years to rebuild," I said plainly. "But you've earned a chance to keep proving yourself. However, there are conditions." Sophia produced the new contract we had prepared. For the next 3 years, Ethan remains under legal. Any significant financial decision requires my written approval. Ethan accepted immediately, barely glancing at it. Just being allowed to stay is more than I deserve. His sincere gratitude moved me. "Ethan, everyone deserves a second chance if they truly work for it." I extended my hand. When he took it, I felt as if I were slowly getting my son back. That afternoon, we called Mason with the news. He was genuinely thrilled. "Ethan, you did it. When you commit to change, people change." For the first time in over a year, the 3 of us hugged and our family felt pieced back together. At dinner, Ethan asked the question I knew he'd been holding. "Mom, will there ever be a day when you fully forgive me?" I considered, then answered, "Forgiveness isn't a single moment. It's a process. Every day you show you've changed, every honest decision, every moment of respect you show me, all of it builds that forgiveness. I no longer feel the anger I felt a year ago, nor the betrayal like an open wound. What I feel now is hope. Hope you've found the right path. Hope our new relationship will be built on mutual respect." Ethan nodded, eyes still wet. That night before sleep, I reflected on the hardest year of my life. My son had betrayed me in the most painful way, but he'd also given me the chance to prove my own strength. I set boundaries, demanded respect, and designed conditions for reconciliation based on actions, not empty promises. The next morning, Ethan began officially as a junior partner at the farm, with a clear salary, real responsibilities, and the chance to truly contribute to the place he'd tried to steal a year earlier. Poetic justice was perfect. The one who wanted to inherit without working now had to earn it day by day through honest labor. As I drifted off to sleep, the familiar sounds of the farm, the crickets, the rustling wind, the low murmur of the herd wrapped around me, and there was a new sound that brought me peace. Ethan's footsteps in his cabin, preparing for tomorrow. A woman who built an enterprise with her own hands won't be defeated by anyone, not even her son, once she's decided to protect what she's built. More importantly, I understood that maternal love, when paired with clear boundaries and transparent consequences, can create the conditions for true atonement. Ethan lost my $4 million, but he found something far more valuable: his soul, his purpose, and his way home. As for me, beyond keeping my estate, I regained hope that my family could heal and grow stronger. Sometimes the most painful betrayals open the greatest opportunities for growth, forgiveness, and transformation. The farm, once the stage for betrayal, would now bear witness to a beautiful redemption. And for the first time in a year, I fell asleep with a smile, knowing the future was opening into new, hopeful possibilities. In the end, Catherine's story isn't just about keeping a farm. It's about preserving honor, boundaries, and love for family. When motherhood pairs with discipline and clear limits, it stops being blind indulgence and becomes the bridge for a lost soul to return. Forgiveness isn't a moment, it's each right choice, each honest decision, each promise fulfilled with sweat and responsibility. What matters most to you in this journey? Boundaries, forgiveness, or the will to make things right? If it were you, how would you offer a second chance, and what conditions would you set to protect yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments so we can all learn together. If you're drawn to stories of family, courage, and healing, follow the channel so you won't miss the next chapter. Together, let's build a community that listens, learns, and loves in the right way.